is up, guys? Welcome back to Think Shank. I am so excited to be back. I know it has been a minute. Lots of personal stuff, ventures, excitement going on, and it has just dominated all of my time. But the good news is that there has been an overflowing amount of wonderful headlines all across the NBA that I don't care about. What I do care about is the actual game on the floor. All of us were treated to a wonderful mini series between my two picks as the leading favorites for the Western Conference Finals. I think most of us probably could have looked over and surveyed and identified that these two teams would make it. And I think because of the clash of playing styles and obviously the MVP controversy and nonstop headline machine, I guess makes it more fun. I guess. We'll just say that. That's all I got. What I want to do is cover three main takeaways for each team coming out of the back-to-back mini series, and I'm going to contextualize all of it in that hypothetical matchup because, again, I feel pretty fucking confident that that is what we're going to end up seeing. So without further ado, it is great being back. And of course, thank you so much for watching. Let's dive into Oklahoma City first. They are, of course, running away with the Western Conference, barely made any changes or needed to, picking up Isaiah Hartenstein. Very, very important in this particular matchup, which I will get to. Number one, which is actually a common thread between both sides that I'm going to cover, is the ceiling determinant for the Thunder, which is probably unsurprisingly Jalen Williams, a.k.a. Dub, a.k.a. jdub, a.k.a. Santa Clara, Jalen Williams. There are two of them on the team. You already know that. It's not just as simple as, yeah, he's the second best offensive player on the team. First-time All-Star, probably going to make All-NBA at 23, I think. It has a lot more to do with the team-wide system and potency. Covered this a shit ton in the past, but basically how Oklahoma City likes to play is what I call a stampede of constant rim attacks and leading to kickouts, which lead to more drives, and it perpetuates this washer, dryer, spin cycle thing where they're constantly sharpening the knife of the quality of shot and ultimately leading to free throws, rim shots, or very, very wide open threes, which their guys have obviously proven in that specific context to be very effective at. Now, back to Jalen Williams, that stampede needs a conductor. It's a beautiful representation to me of a team optimizing around its superstar, where a lot of the guys on this team emulate Shai Gilgeous in the constant rim attacks and building off of and around it. Lou Dort and Isaiah Joe, Aaron Wiggins, etc. They are very good at secondary driving and perpetuating / enhancing the advantages created by Shai Gilgeous. Borderline unstoppable in one-on-one settings, particularly at home when the crowd is going and when the whistle is really going his way. That's all I'm going to say about that. But my point is they don't have a lot of primary drivers, and that to me is why Jalen Williams is so imperative for this entire model to work. He has to be not only producing, but he has to be diet Shai Gilgeous in being able to break down these one-on-one defensive matchups that he gets or gets through a screen of some sort. Because again, it isn't as simple as letting other guys dive in and attack like a Boston Celtics team, for example. Virtually every single guy on that team can take other guys on in one-on-one ISO situations, and that's why they lead the league in ISOs. It's really just the easiest way to do it. Being that secondary release valve when shai is there, and another guy that can be a full-on triple threat from a standstill position outside of the three-point line is really helpful, but especially in those non-shai minutes, being the conductor of the stampeding to the rim is very important. The footnote I would attach onto that is we all know that Chet missed basically like 75, 80% of the season. Gruesome fall on his hip. He is a twig and very, very young, missing his entire rookie season with injury. I'm not going to speculate on any sort of prognostication around his viability of health, but the punchline for this specific thought experiment in the Western Conference Finals is he has to elevate his offensive potency, whether within or outside of the offensive model I am describing. He not only seems rusty from a physical standpoint, getting his body back into game after game shape, battling / defending, big bruising bodies like Jokic, Aaron Gordon, etc. You think about Houston as well, but it's also the confidence part. You see this guy, and I don't know if it was tactical on Denver's end, a lot of his threes felt pretty open. I don't know if it was the speed with which he was loading and firing or just how it was leaving his hands. I didn't feel good about Chet shooting the ball kind of at all. And yeah, I don't know. I think it's sub 10, I want to say, number of games back from the injury. So very, very permissible. But to bring it back to Jalen Williams, if Chet isn't there for one reason or the other, that margin for error on the offensive end just becomes even more slimmer, even more imperative that jdub is essentially a mini diet version of SGA. Fun throw-in about Chet. The more that I watch him, the more I kind of feel like his game is more bail-out-y, kind of similar to Kevin Durant. And giving him those kinds of touches, I do think would go a long way, both for letting him get going, but also diversifying that offensive structure and not wearing SGA the fuck out. You think about Porzingis, for example, on Boston, letting him get mismatches and going up and firing. I'm not saying Chet isn't suitable or a misfit within this overall offensive structure, because he definitely is, and there is so much value to his ability to drag the opposing center to the three-point line and space it out for these constant drives. It does feel like he could be a bigger weapon in those bailout situations. Obviously, though, there is a lot of overlap with Shai Gilgeous, and of course, he brings and drives just so much defensive value. Defending the rim, which is really important against teams like Denver, because that's really the only places that they like to shoot, as well as defensive rebounding, which is also a very big deal for Denver, because both Jokic and Aaron Gordon love to feast on offensive rebounds, and if you just do not have the bodies and or size, you are really going to get killed. Number 2 is rim primacy to a fault. Probably could have added a question mark in there. The defensive scheme that Denver last night, as well as Minnesota in their miraculous 16-point comeback with 3 minutes left or whatever it was, basically employing these very high blitzes onto Shai, affording these 4-on-3s on the back end. You picture Steph and Draymond, you make that slip pass through the double team, somebody's got to be open, and then you knock down the shot. That actually didn't really pan out super great for Oklahoma City. For its open shooters, obviously Dort, career high 8 threes. But in the second half of that second game, when they started employing that strategy, OKC only went 9 for 25 or something, which is like 36%. And given the shot quality, it's kind of surprising. But if you look at it through the lens of that offensive structure that I've been describing, it kind of makes sense. And Shai himself, after the second game of the series,
when the trap is coming that high, you guys were able to find a lot of good looks. What does a successful possession look like for you when you're just moving off the ball and letting 4-on-3 develop on the other side of it?
Yeah, they like you said, we got a bunch of good looks. Now, I don't like to leave the game up to shot making. Like, I don't like to just blame shot making and shot missing. Like I feel like generating, like, there's a way to attack where sometimes you have to take a shot in a three, but the stuff in the paint and the stuff around the rim is the highest percentage. Now, if we're missing point blank layups and stuff like that, then it is what it is. But like, I think there's still a way to attack better, even though you're still getting open threes. Like, jump shots are going to fluctuate. I always say that, no matter how good of a shooter you are. And I just never like to chance things up to that, to percentages. I like, things that are like more certain, and the rim and the paint is. And we'll watch film. We have a bunch of games left to try to attack it. I'm sure teams will try to throw it at us again because it has worked. And yeah, we'll get better from it. That's all it is.
Acknowledging that kind of coverage hadn't been used very often. And he also explicitly detailed what OKC's offensive philosophy is. They have identified the perimeter as being more valuable as a threat to unlock higher efficiency shots at the rim and charity stripe. They aren't putting up even close to the highest volume of threes. They are leveraging the fact that their outside shooters can get so open that they do make quite a number of threes. But again, they are created by the constant stampeding to the rim, which sharpens the knife of the quality of shots created. So it all goes hand in hand. And the reason I'm bringing this up is that mental conditioning of having those constant drives and that degree of rhythm actually made it such that those wide open threes created by the 4-on-3s when they blitz Shai, it threw them off. It's not very in rhythm, and it's psychologically not how they are accustomed to playing. A weird psychological complex. The Thunder have not gotten a ton of reps against teams doubling Shai so high and far from the basket that it is so clear that the right or correct shot is a wide open three with about 19 seconds left in the shot clock, which, again, it's just very contrary to the way that these robotic cogs of the machine have been raised and groomed. I assume the adjustment that they're going to make is positioning Caruso to be that screener. Thinking back to the Steph and Draymond pairing thing, one of the reasons why that is so effective is because Draymond has the facilitation skills of a full-fledged point guard, and so giving him that 4-on-3 position in the middle of the floor, somebody's open, he is really, really, really effective at it. If you switch that to Aaron Wiggins or Lou Dort, it's probably not going to be as polished and effective, and so Caruso feels like their best option in those spots, not just because he's their 30-year-old veteran, which is bonkers. He's just been in those kinds of situations, even thinking back to Chicago with DeMar DeRozan. He has played with guys who've gotten double before and has had to pass and play make out of it. Relatively effective at finishing, kind of like the idea of having him be more ingrained in that offensive flow as that decision maker, if only to help him feel more in rhythm for finishing his own plays by making more shots. Last but not least is front court depth despair. The Oklahoma City Thunder only have 2 true centers, which sure is pretty great to be able to front load your front court at the 4 and the 5. Essentially have to, and I do believe that this potential Denver matchup was the primary driving factor behind why they even acquired Isaiah Hartenstein in the first place. Denver's strengths and superpowers essentially stack up exactly with Oklahoma City's vulnerabilities. Obviously, I'm not saying that they're terrible and glaring. It's just relative to their strengths, and you contextualize it in a hypothetical playoff series. These are the kinds of weaknesses that get exploited over and over and over again until you can prove that you are overcoming it, you've adjusted, etc. One of those superpowers that matters a lot is Denver's ability to offensively rebound, and having Chet and Isaiah Hartenstein in there, that is an enormous component of that. Obviously, I think it's unfortunate that Aaron Gordon didn't play and got injured, but from a schematic and strategic perspective, like Aaron Gordon's biggest superpower individually is his ability to shadow Jokic like a planetary system and clean up all of these misses and be super physical because he's massive and all of those things. OKC got a ton of offensive rebounds and extra points that way, particularly in that second game. We weren't able to see Aaron Gordon battling Chet Holmgren, who obviously has several inches in height and length, but definitely gives up quite a few number of pounds. I just think that that was really interesting. And back to this hypothetical series, you think about all of the time Gordon has missed due to this lingering calf issue, all of those extra reps that Michael Porter Jr. has gotten being essentially their big man, going ahead and starting Russ, having to crash from the corners, having to be more physical on the perimeter, and just overall compensate for the massive, massive gap in that physicality near the basket that the Nuggets absolutely rely on. Assuming Gordon will be back and Michael Porter has to continue to play that power forward, more physical bruising role for the Nuggets. Another scenario where Chet finds himself with 3 fouls in the first 14 to 15 minutes of the game can literally dictate the outcome of these games in the postseason. Defensive rebounding, the amount of fouls that either Jalen Williams would have to give on Aaron Gordon and send him to the free throw line on some of these incredible passes from Jokic to Gordon near the rim, and we've seen it a million times. If you're the Thunder, you legitimately cannot afford for Chet to get into foul trouble because there is no backup. You have your 2 centers to stack up with Gordon and Jokic, who will do very, very well. Again, it's all about the margin for error. I would also tack on there another observation that I have not seen a single person utter yet. If you have to play small where their point guard and offensive engine is 7 feet tall, you cannot play small against Denver. He can see everything at every moment, and your double teams and your swipes from the perimeter probably were great against Luka, Steph, and Ja Morant, and basically just not centers. And so you just can't play small because Jokic can see clear over you, and you're just not going to be able to fully stop or body him or Aaron Gordon effectively at the rim, which everybody knows is exactly what they want. Moving over to the Nuggets now, staying consistent. The ceiling determinant, as I alluded to, is definitely Aaron Gordon to me. Defensive rebounding is non-negotiable against a team/defense, really, as incredible as the Thunder's. You can't allow them second chance points because of the level of play finishing they have, especially from Shai Gilgeous. On rebounds, a lot of times you just lose your guy, and especially if they're spaced out, you'll just have more ground to cover to contest their shots. Exactly what happened with Lou Dort in that second game, or maybe it was the first game. tries to go for a dunk, misses the dunk, relocates, gets a wide the fuck open three. It sucks the absolute life out of you. Having guys able to defensively rebound stops the offensive rebounds that are, in my opinion, the biggest and easiest fuel of runs. There's nothing worse in playing basketball than playing 25 seconds of elite, perfect defense and everybody's on a string, and then you do not get the actual rebound, especially when OKC scores on you in a second chance point scenario. Then you finally get the ball back, and now you have to play Oklahoma City Thunder's half-court defense, which is a fucking nightmare. Aaron Gordon's help side defense is super, super important. Multiple points during that second and first games where OKC was in rhythm offensively, doing the drive and kicks, washer, dryer machine, stampeding to the rim. Once they're able to get that advantage, they're very good at sustaining it, leading to a bunch of moments where the opposite defender has to be the guy to step up and defend the rim. And a lot of times that was Jamal Murray, which, no offense to him, he is not even close to what Aaron Gordon provides with his strength and size and all-around awareness, especially against a downhill driving dependent offense like Oklahoma City. You just need more size, more strength, more physicality in that rim and short mid-range region that Aaron Gordon is the guy for Denver to deliver on. Christian Braun definitely is the secondary guy that they have, being that Kentavious Caldwell-Pope replacement, but he clearly has a physical limitation on his effectiveness. I'm sorry, being 6'5" and hyper athletic is great. It is just tough when you are 6'10" and jacked and really athletic as well. You're just going to have these advantages. And Michael Porter Jr., Jamal Murray, Russell Westbrook, I'm sorry, I just don't think that they have that level of tenacity, or tapping into it feels unnatural. Denver's immaculate system, a glaring piece of evidence to support it, in that those guys typically don't have to be the ones delivering the level of physicality that they've been asked to in AG's absence, because, again, Aaron Gordon is that burly, physical, rebounding, dirty work, glue guy that they absolutely needed. Why in the second game, which, mind you, Denver ran away with, the Thunder come away with a 13-9 offensive rebounding margin, positive for them, leading to a 22-8 second chance point edge over Denver. And yes, OKC was employing a ton of their double big lineups. Why wouldn't you? You have a non-physical forward in Michael Porter Jr. on the other end. That is a strategic decision that Daigneault made, but it just goes to show you, in a game that was that tight for that long / much of it, there's just a huge cleanup opportunity for Aaron Gordon to come in and eliminate those second chance scoring opportunities. That is just in a box, not even considering the help side defense and the individual scoring and facilitating that he does, particularly in secondary lineups. I just think, again, the front court depth and togetherness and synchronicity, whatever that fucking word is, of the Denver Nuggets system is absolutely its biggest superpower. They are huge from the 3 through 5, and they've been playing together forever. They want to eat you alive from missed shots, offensive rebounds, and incredible finishing from the greatest player on earth. Moving on to number 2 is striking first. If you have tagged along with the Nuggets, you are probably well aware they struggle at throwing the first punch. The Minnesota Timberwolves series in the playoffs last year comes to mind. Falling down 0-2 when they had the higher seed is unfucking believable. Them losing the first game of this mini series, even with, sure, the tragic exit of Gordon that fucks over a ton of your pregame strategies and you're adjusting on the fly, really, really struggle to assert themselves early, finding themselves trailing at halftime and always having to claw their way back, which granted, they are very fucking good at doing. I'm also starting to think about the over-reliance on Jokic specifically with his mental capacity for deconstructing everything the other team is doing in real time. Yeah, we're gonna play our way, but as far as our defense or even opening things up on offense, it does feel like a follow the leader type of thing. I think that worries me. In the first game, they only shot 55% on free throws, and that infamous no call on Russ where he gets whacked in the face by Chet, and it would have been his 6th foul, making him get ejected. Proceeded to continuously give up wide open threes, all but letting go of the rope. Those are all symptoms to me of not having the necessary kind of self-starter kit for igniting as a team, especially the free throw thing where they attempted 20 free throws and they only made 11. Tells me, one, Paycom Center is fucking cutthroat. Congratulations and props. But two, that mental toughness and fortitude it really, really needed to be there in game 2. And wouldn't you know, Jamal Murray takes 11 field goal attempts in the first half, scoring 16. And a fun little Easter egg stat, in 40 minutes, which is 1 minute less than what Nikola Jokic played in this game, Jamal Murray had the highest on-off of the entire Nuggets roster with plus 14. I think Jokic was plus 10 or 11. To relate to the striking first thing, taking 11 shots. If you've been following me at all, you will have known I care a lot about field goal attempts as well as makes. Obviously, being efficient is important. But field goal attempts signify much more than just a make or miss shot. They establish that player in the defensive psyche, and that is so fucking important when you are playing the role that Jamal Murray is as a much more mobile, free-ranging, tough shot-making release valve for Denver, particularly when you are down Aaron Gordon, who is again affording you quite a few number of putback or second chance opportunities, helps cushion that overall margin where Jamal just simply doesn't have to be this aggressive every game. That is what it is gonna take. I think we all are in agreement that Jamal's very, very high level of volatility in his aggressiveness, especially to start games or seasons, is perplexing and probably extremely frustrating if you are a Nuggets fan. It is good if, again, you are a fan of theirs that he is proving, came into that second game, again, you're still in Oklahoma City, he's like, fuck all that shit. I know AG's out. I gotta, one, make shots, but I gotta at least get into the minds of Dort and the rest of the Thunder that I am coming out guns blazing. So when it comes to rotations and carving out just a little bit of extra space for other guys to cut in for Jokic slashing assists or even just Jokic himself to go in and finish shots, it is just so important. I often find myself thinking about this matchup and honestly any matchup, frankly, if Jamal Murray had in his contract to attempt 11 field goal attempts in the first half like he did last night against the Thunder, Denver is probably, give or take, like 5 games behind Oklahoma City. And granted, that is literally no bearing on how many makes out of the 11 attempts that he has, just for all of the defensive psyche and psychology related reasons I'm laying out here. It's just so important for Denver's offense that Jamal Murray takes shots. It opens up that space for guys to cut to, opens up space for Jokic himself to play into and finish, gives him the potential to get himself going early, because if his shot is on, you're fucked. So at least the willingness to do that. God forbid Aaron Gordon goes down or is continuing to suffer any issues with that calf come April. Last but not least, bench money, very self-explanatory. In that second game, Peyton Watson, Pickett, who I'm really excited to touch on, and then Christian Brown. I should also throw in Russ, but Christian Brown, especially in that first game, having the level of confidence to, again, attempt these shots is really, really important. If you make them and it is the right play or shot to take, it is game over, because that is unguardable, because just like Shai Gilgeous on the other side of the floor, Jokic cannot be played one-on-one in sustainable fashion. Just ask Minnesota. Granted, they ended up winning 20 fucking point deficit, which 9 times out of 10 they do not. Those other guys, similar to Oklahoma City's role players, they need an offensive conductor or spark as well. You think about the level of pressure and the sheer magnitude of focal point Shai and Jokic present. A lot of these guys are conditioned cogs to sustain or enhance, if they can, the advantages that those engines or focal points create. Even given the most wide open shots in the world, it isn't necessarily the only ingredient behind whether or not they should and can make those shots. Connecting to the Jamal Murray point, where I just think he should have taken 11 field goals in the first half inside of his contract, those guys for Denver really feed off of the offensive energy and drive of those starters. You could really, really feel it in that second game when you had such a statement by Jamal Murray, 16 points in the first half. Peyton Watson comes in, goes 3 for 3 from the corner, can go ahead and point to Oklahoma City, taking their chances. I don't blame them in the slightest. But then you also had Jalen Pickett airball his first fucking attempt of the first half and then come back in the second half and hit like pretty contested threes from 26 feet out. And you're like, oh, damn. Like, they are really, really confident thanks to this statement and confidence they are feeding off of from guys like Jamal Murray. I also want to say that Peyton Watson's defense is just so great and important in this particular context. Again, the size, length, athleticism, and particularly his ability to be the boogeyman defender on the help side, I just think stacks up really, really well. The Thunder, notoriously undersized, Shai included, they are always constantly attacking the rim, and you see this relatively regularly. Actual NBA players with personal experience playing against Peyton Watson continue to underestimate his level of straight line explosiveness, meaning vertically, as well as just like arm length, it seems like. I mean, he's blocking threes and blocking Chet, and again, a lot of these Thunder bees are swarming in from the outside in, and I just really like that particular skill set and profile of Watson coming in from the peripherals like the boogeyman. And again, even if he isn't getting blocks, it plays into the psychology of the offense that is so, again, conditioned to drive, kick, where you can help your perimeter guys rotate faster, easier, perhaps, when they can rely on you or have trust in you, being Peyton Watson, being able to shadow them into pretty predictable kickouts. And all of a sudden, as you saw, you start being able to anticipate those kickouts, and now you can get out and run. And everybody knows if you have to be going up against Oklahoma City's half-court defense time and time again, you're going to get fucking exhausted and you're going to get fucking frustrated. It's just how it goes. And so that's why Peyton Watson specifically, I think, is an absolute weapon in this matchup. Similar, of course, to the Aaron Gordons with the rebounding and, again, the help side defense. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. It is fabulous to be back, and until next time.